Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL. And I don't know if you guys follow me on my Instagram, but this was something I posted the other day. This is basically what it looks like when I go out and just kind of get away and take a break. I end up sitting and drawing and figuring out ideas for other patterns and other things. I can't take my mind off my work. So while I was here having a nice iced coffee and kind of chilling and trying to come up with a couple ideas, one of the things that kind of struck me was that drink. It makes me insane, okay, because it's cold, the thing sweats, and it kind of makes a mess, right? And that's a really nice leather book. That's a really nice knotted bag. And all my notes and stuff are paper, which also don't want to get wet, right? So today I want to figure out something that I can use so I can take and keep that drink away from my work and kind of make these situations where I'm out in the wild drawing up ideas and plans just a little less stressful for myself. So I also think I need to make one for my wife because she likes things like the bubble tea and that sort of thing. So yeah, let's come up with something for that, right? Because, designs and creativity, yeah, they shouldn't be destroyed just because you like your drink cold when you live somewhere like hot and tropical. So, all right, let's get on that. Okay, so this is the start of the solution. So I actually brought home that cup and I'm going to make something so that way I can have a thing that will actually carry it. Actually, here I have to zoom out. Okay. So that way I can hang it off the side of the table. So I had my wife put together this. It's a kumi rope. And it's got a really cool pattern, and I'm going to let that pattern dictate the pattern that I'm going to actually use in what's going to actually hold this cup. So, I guess I have to go set up for that now. All right. I'll be right back. All right, let's open this up, and it's huge, so let's don't make it super graphic, and transform, rotate 90, perfect. Let's see, it's 3,000. What's halfway here-ish? Yeah, let's call that halfway. What I need to do is I need to figure out how this pattern goes and replicates itself. I know basically just that this basically has this kind of look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 3, 4. So it looks sort of like that. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's easy enough. And let's see, guess that's 8, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 20 strands in the kumi. So that's like that. Great. I just need an alternative color. Blue works. Needs to be just contrasty. I know this isn't anything like the strings. This is about figuring things out. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So now the counterparts are like the relief, and then this row, the solid row, is just outside the points of this. Right, so there it is, 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay, so that's exactly as expected. And then I guess that would be the red row here. Right, and then it repeats. It's exactly the same? Right. Okay. Right. So looking at the kumi, this does sort of make sense. Like that's sort of what's kind of going on in the rope. Oh, look at that. It actually ends right at the same. It doesn't over here. That's weird. Okay, I'm hoping that's not going to be a problem later on. We'll see if we can't figure this out as we go. Okay. So we know this is going to continue on this way. So I'm kind of thinking out loud. I'm kind of trying to work this out and trying to show you how I'm working this out, because I really honestly not totally sure about this. I only just figured out that I don't have to try to make a complex pattern because I've already done interesting two-color variations by just lining up all the colors in the same direction. So yay me. Alright, so this is the solid row, right? So that's, even though we don't have whatever's over here, we know what this is doing. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Switch over to blues, fill this in. Doot. Easy enough. So if you haven't seen the video before, I did a cup that, that sort of has the same exact thing happening. So if this is the last of what's coming in from the kumi, then this is a square here, right? So that means that blue is coming from this direction. And that means there will be a series of those going this direction. Cool. And we know that this reds will go this way, like that, and then this is one. And the reds will keep going this way. Cool. Alright. Okay, so we know that this blue goes this way. So the big question will be, how does it sort of come into play right across here? So if this was the 4, this is the one that comes up pretty big, right? Here it's red all the way to the end. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, so if all those were blues going that way, these are all the reds going the other way. So as we line them up on the string that's coming across, oh, wait a second. On the string that comes across, that is, we lose one of these strings up here to be the string that is the piece. Oh. So that means this all happens, whoops, one thing higher. So these are really up here. Oh, I'm glad I had an epiphany, because otherwise this wouldn't have made sense later. Alright, so this comes from here. So is that at all helpful? I don't know. Maybe. So this has 2, this has 1, and then this is all the way up. And then this is the solid row. Alright, cool. Huh. Alright, let's take a look. I guess that makes sense. Alright, so over here, we know this has to be up one further as well. So we need blue. Alright. It's there, right? No. There is it here? That's kind of throw me off. So it's 9 down. So that's really there. And then that string is sort of wandering off. See, the complexity of this happens in when you have that string going off and you're bringing the other in. Where does that actually happen? I'm not 100% on that. I know that it's 9 strings and then one string kind of shoots off sideways. So there's the 4, there's 4, then there's this string sort of right there. So, whoops. So that should be the blue. Yeah, it should be right here. So there'll be little blues all along this path. Whoop. Okay, Control Z. And all right. And then of course the little red counterparts. Because yin and yang and all that kind of stuff, right? Alright, so now this is the solid blue row like this. That means the next row is the solid red. Oh, that's so fun. And then if this is the row with the 4, that means this one has it. And then that means this one would have it. Cool. It's not difficult to actually generate the pattern on the computer, but I suspect it's going to be a lot harder to look at this in string form and be like knowing exactly where everything has to be, because it is a bit of a mess. And so one of the big things here that I'm trying to work out, wait a second, overkilled. And no, that's supposed to be the red row. One of the things I need to work out is at least to where the pattern goes into where it starts repeating itself. Because once you have that, then you can just kind of look at what happened previously. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's weird. This is where the red does the single thing again. So this and this are a repeat. So no matter like how many times that goes off more to the left, as long as you know where this one dot is, it's pretty much always going to do the same thing. So that's what I'm talking about. Like just finding that part of the pattern will allow me to not actually have to draw it up to complete scale, which is sort of important in something like this because I honestly don't know quite how far I'm taking it. And my biggest hope is that because these segments aren't too terribly huge, that what I can do is yeah, I think this is supposed to be up a little bit higher, is to be able to just do the small little mapping and then go from there. Mind you, I turned this, I don't know if you noticed that when I started, I turned the whole thing to landscape because I knew that this was so much wider than I needed to go tall. As a matter of fact, because this is just going to be holding the cup, I don't have to go that terribly long. I'm just going to go down a little ways and then kind of maybe just do a zigzag like this. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then kind of have it go off into tassels, I think. I kind of like the idea of the tassels just because, like, as the cup sweats, then the moisture would kind of get trapped in the fabric and evaporate, which would help keep my drink colder. And then the tassels are another way for it to evaporate before it like just drips on the floor or something. So, not that I'm too worried about that, because the whole idea was to have it off of the table. It's more about how to not make a big mess. At least that's in my mind. That's what I'm thinking right now. So let's see. These are blues going this way. See, I might actually have to kind of adjust this as I go along based on what I find like after I get the kumi set up, which has got me really baffled. I'm really kind of torn. Like, is this right or not? And that's the thing. See, I'm not knocking you guys for this, but when you're trying to invent like I do, there isn't somebody else that already has a video out there for me to like watch and be like, oh right, that's how you do it. So kudos for you guys, right? Totally cool. All right, so this is the solid row. Oh, that makes this nicer. And then this is, that goes up to there, that one, and that's a blue. So I'm wondering, when these two things meet up with the other side, is that going to be a problem? I don't think so, but I really can't wait to see how this whole thing turns out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this where my computer can easily tell what the heck I'm doing. Save as, so see, it wants to do it as the A4 because this is straight off of the website, right? So bubble tea and save. And what I'll do is I will reference it if I have to make adjustments or whatever. I can come back to this document and I can check that out, because I think we're onto something here. I think this is how it's going to work. So, all right, let's start working on the other part. Okay, so here's just a quick update on where we are with this thing. The whole thing I drew up in GIMP for this, it didn't help as much as I thought it would. The problem is the way that these all come down are just a little bit off each time. So if you're trying to keep the pattern like where this line is straight with this one and whatever, it's a constant moving thing, which I hadn't anticipated at all. Plus, I hadn't anticipated that when my wife told me 20 strings, that she meant 20 individual strands and not 20 strings. So when I drew it up, this was half the size of what I thought it was. Okay, that's fine. So then measuring the cup, I worked out like how far halfway is, and I figured what I would do is I would do just to the right, and then when I flip the other thing around, I'll also do just to the right, and that's where the two pieces will attach. And so while I was trying to measure it out, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Right here, there is a dot, and that's where I measured it to be the halfway point. This is, you know, if I do both of them this size. Now, if I were to add a couple more strings, I could hit to right to that, but then I wouldn't have the same sequence of numbers of what this is, which has got me all kinds of confused, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. But I think I'd rather it be a little bit short because of the nature of the way that the cup is, it's angled or whatever, right? So if it's a little bit too small, then the cup will wedge in a little bit more. But if I go too much, then it's just going to rest on the lid, and that's a recipe for disaster. So I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to start working on the other side. But I just had to stop for a second. Mind you, I don't know, a lot of you guys don't follow my actual personal Facebook account. Probably wouldn't want you to anyways. I get kind of political and stuff over there. But I described this as if you're driving around, you know, you're driving over to a person's house, you've never been there before, and when you get close, you have to like turn down the radio so you can concentrate and try to find the address. This is exactly how that felt, because once I have this, I mean, like doing in this square here, got it. I can do it at speed, no problem. But getting this row was absolutely nightmarish. So, yeah, that's why I didn't really record it. It's stopping and staring and trying to figure and counting, and it was far from fun. And if I was to redesign this whole thing out again, I think I would always start it with the same note and let these things be off by one each time. So if you're going to design one of these for yourself, I would definitely recommend not using my pattern. So, all right, that's where we are, and I'm going to go back to work. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. On this side over here, to help speed things along and kind of make it a whole lot easier, I changed how I was putting the string on. As you can see, it shifts it always by one, but that's so much easier. Oh my God. So I'm going to revise the image, and so there'll be basically two on my website for you guys to look at. This is a much easier way to go. I wish I had done it the whole time, but I'm not undoing all of this over here. Also, I made this a little bit longer, so I'm going to have to add to here. But at this point, so I marked the string just a little bit. Figured it'll be hidden away, but see that little mark right here was about how long I was estimating it needed to be. So now at this point, let's take a look at the cup. Whoop, almost lost the whole thing. Okay, and see where we land, right? So if we wrap it around, see, okay, so we're still short, which was to be expected, right? Because there's still a gap there. But if we actually raise this up on the cup, there's a pretty big gap. I might be able to put in 2 sets. So like each one of these is like 10 strings, right? So what I'll do is I'll put on 10 more strings and then do this again, see where it lands. If necessary, put on 10 more strings than that. But I don't want to go so far as to make it so that way the thing rides all the way up to where the lid is. Because I'm afraid then what would happen is it would pop the lid off if you tried to hold this. The cup would drop, huge mess, no fun. So it's all about trying to find like the perfect where to land it. So, all right, that's the update for now, and I will get back to work. Okay, so after we finished out that one little area over here, and kind of added to all this part, can kind of tell that this kind of comes down a bit more just because this is the side that was doing that whole rotation and this side was not. This is where we're going to have to join it, and that deciding factor, well, I can show you where it is on the cup. Like so, if I take the cup and I do this, it's way down here. Remember I was saying that I thought I could maybe like do even more, right, and make it up higher? Yeah, turns out I ran out of the string. So yeah, I think it's really good right here. Anyways, I cut myself a piece of this cardboard so that way I would have something so I could see the difference between the front and the back and try to make my life just a little bit easier. And at this point, it's just joining it together like I would join anything else together, with the one exception that this is obviously going the wrong direction. This blues are going that way and the whites are going that way. And this white, it too is going the wrong direction. So what do? So white's supposed to go, oh no, I guess it actually does go, oh wait, yes. This and then this. So now the blue's going here and the white's going here. Everything's fixed. Ta-da! And then I just have to worry about trying to keep that line straight so that'll look good and nobody will really notice that that's where the join is. And while getting all the way to here, I was thinking, wow, I could just make little tassels and that would be cool. But then I don't know, I'm retarded. I totally want to make more work for myself. I don't know why I do this, but I always do this. So yeah, hang in there. Let me get this part done because this is just like all the rest of the bags. You want to see how I put it together, go watch a bag video. I'm going to get this together and I'm going to show you something new and cool and different, and we'll have fun with that. And this way we keep the video to kind of moderately not so bad. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have made a ton of progress, as you can see from this. And basically now we are at this point of, I could have just made these into like little tassels and be done with it. But like I said earlier, I came up with something that's just going to make so much more work for myself, and I'm actually kind of excited about this. So let me just get some of the strings that are on top and shift everything that's behind out of my way. This will just make what I'm doing easier. And we're going to start, I think, right here. Now, I'm sure you've seen me how I like end my bracelets with that nice smoothness. So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to take the very highest one here and I'm just going to go over it once with the next string down. And I'm going to do that over both of them with the next string down. Now mind you, I'm just using the figure 4 knot. Nothing crazy. And I'm going to come all the way down with that. Then I'm going to go, and this last one I just did, I'm going to do it back the other direction. So is where the first was a figure 4, now I'm going to go into the backwards 4. Okay, Now at this point, so the last one, the very last string, yeah, doing that one and not grabbing an accidental other one would matter. The rest of these, it doesn't matter which sequence it's in, because they're all sandwiched in between all of the other knots, so that really doesn't matter at all. So now you can see this sort of comes around in a little oval shape, and I'm going to go over here and do the same thing with these. Now, because this is over on the left hand side, the first knots are going to be the backwards 4, as if we were making a left-handed knot. So it's just over the top one, and then over those 2, over those 3, over those 4, and then back the other direction. Now, is this making a lot more work for myself? Of course it is. Is this only going to work on this kind of project? Of course not. And that's why I'm teaching it here, is because, yeah, it seemed like a good place to put it, and it's going to make it really fun looking, and sure, why not, you know? I'm certain if you guys were creative, and I know you are, you could come up with a few dozen ways of making this thing work. Now, I'm going to imitate this basic square that's up there. So that kind of goes like this. It's all straight white going across that first one. Which is sort of nice as far as keeping the consistency or whatever with this together. And then we're going to do the single blue. And follow that down, the white all the way back down to the end. Okay, and I guess by right, I guess I could have taken that blue all the way out. So let's go ahead and just do that now. It's always about trying to find like the easiest path. I know a lot of people are just talking a lot about segment knotting these days. And the reality is it's just about trying to find the fastest, easiest method to get the same thing done. So in this case, we can, when we're doing the blues, we can take those all the way out, because that triangle here, obviously, makes that kind of possible. And of course, then the next one has to be the white, because you need the white one right at this point here. Okay, there. And now let's take the blue over here. And basically, I'm going to repeat this all the way around. So. And then at that point, I will determine exactly how I'm going to join it because obviously I can go right back into making the bracelet thing, or I could add another set of these. So my possibilities are open. I just kind of want to do one set around to kind of see how far, pretty much further down that whole thing is, and then from there we can determine what happens next. So yeah, that's what happens when you leave your possibilities open. All right, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so here's what I've done. I've gone all the way around with this, and while doing it, I was considering the possibility, like maybe you just kind of loop these things around or something and then bring it back down. But then I realized that you're relying on 4 little strands of embroidery floss to hold that together, and I thought, wow, that's really asking a lot for the string. And then when I kind of compare like the whole size of the cup and where this comes to, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for like the cool tassels. And my thought for the tassels is that as this is soaking up the water from the condensation, that the tassels have interaction with the air and will help to get the water to not just drip all over the floor or whatever. It'll try to make it a little bit neater. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these together, and then I'm going to make it into a tassel. So basically I'm going to follow the same thing I was doing before and do the first row all the way down to the end. Now mind you, I'm going to move these out of my way because I don't want to get confused when I try to go to make the tassel, right? So we're just working with these 10 strings. So this one comes all the way down to the end. And I'm not going to cut the strings off with the tassel just yet. And the reason is I want to put the cup that I have in there and use that as my guide, so that way I cut all of them all nice and even. And my thought process there is, first off, I want them all even, but I also want it so that way if I set this thing down for whatever reason, you know, like I'm leaving the shop or whatever, and I'm putting the hook away and I need to set this thing on the table, I don't want the strings to kind of be underneath the cup, causing it to sort of tilt and possibly making my coffee spill over, because I don't want to lose my coffee. So that's the thought, and how I'm going to do it. Now, mind you, I'm not like so loyal to like one coffee shop that I wouldn't go to another, but I'm pretty sure most of these cups are all kind of the same. And yeah, I typically, like if I had like the means, like if I had like a reusable version of this kind of thing for like going to the shops, I would totally be all about it. But honestly, first off, I don't. And secondly, it is so seldom that I actually would go out and have like this nice iced coffee like that. Like most of the time I just have coffee at home. Before the whole pandemic thing, I might have gone out as much as once a week. Since this whole lockdown has happened, I'm lucky if I've had one once a month. So yeah, I can't really justify me purchasing some kind of cup that's, you know, I can bring along with me at this point. It's maybe someday. I mean, honestly, if I had more income, if you know, I sold some more bracelets or whatever, I would certainly look into that as a possibility, like some kind of a reusable. I don't know. I wouldn't want it to still be plastic, you know, because even if it's reusable, if it's still plastic, in the end, like you still end up with plastic waste, right? So, and I don't know what else, like what, a stainless steel one, maybe that'd be kind of cool, I guess. I don't know what size I'd end up getting, because yeah, I suppose I really could kind of look into that. I mean, again, I don't use it enough to make it work, and that's just more stuff that I would have to carry in my backpack. But, you know, saving the environment. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, I guess the coffee culture just wasn't a thing when my parents were around, like when I was a kid in the 70s. Because I was trying to think, like, my father was like, you know, super eco-friendly. Like, the man had a composting pile, and when it came to the trash that went out to the street, it was just a few tin cans and the glass stuff. All the paper stuff was burned in one of those great big 55-gallon barrels. They're like all the food scraps that went into composting for our garden. So yeah, there was almost nothing left for the garbage man to take away. So I can't imagine. I don't know what they would have used, because plastic wasn't like quite as, you know, crazy as it is today. So that's I wonder. I'm sure my dad had coffee. I'm pretty sure he might have only just taken a thermos from home. Maybe he just never got a coffee while he was out. But he worked 16-hour days, so I imagine the man had to have like a fair amount of coffee. Like, I certainly would. If I was working those kind of hours, I certainly would. Okay, so there it is. These pieces have been joined, and now this is going to be where the knot goes. So I'm just going to basically make it a loop like that and pull it through and try to form it to as close to the top here as I can. So there, like that. And I'm going to do that with each one of these, and that's going to be the project. So here, let's do another one. Kind of went to the whole trouble of getting the sound and stuff set up. Might as well have fun with this. So yeah, if you guys have ideas for projects, if you have thoughts on what you want to see made, or things that would be like big changes for your daily whatever, like, leave it in the comments. I'm totally into that. Because, you know, I can't think of every possible thing. Like, this is I don't even suspect that this would be a popular thing for my shop. Like, I feel like the whole world is, you know, moving on, and this is whatever. But this obviously could be elements in a bag. You know, if I could at this point have, instead of going into tassels, I could have gone straight back into making the solid and then going in for the base, and you've gotten a whole new idea of stuff. I've shown a new way of making this pattern, which just happened to go really, really nicely with a kumi, which was the whole point. Was, you know, I had the wife, you know, just make the coolest kumi she could with this number of strings. That's what she came up with. And then my goal then was to see what could I produce that went well with that. So this is, you know, where that went. So even if nobody ever makes one of these, the lessons learned, I think, actually apply well to so much more. And that's kind of what I really want to teach more than anything. I want it to be, I know there's a whole culture out there of knotters who look at a pattern and think, oh, okay, so this is pastels. I wonder if there's another one similar to this that's in bright colors, you know. And that stuff makes me insane, because any pattern is, you know, if it's 6 colors, it works with 6 colors, whether that's gradient or a bright rainbow or a pastel rainbow or anything. And I want that to be like the biggest takeaway from the stuff that I make and I produce, is that we have way much more creativity possibilities at our fingertips. You just have to be imaginative. And I feel that, like, that's part of what's getting lost in the culture of making things, is that nature to be creative and do your own thing and come up with your own ideas. And yeah, I don't want to sound too preachy about this. Seriously, you know, if you want to make something because you saw it and you thought that was pretty and you loved the colors and everything exactly as it was, go for that. That's on you. That's totally, do it. I just want to add to that whole conversation. I want to add that there can be so much more if you're willing to try it. Heck, I've been doing just crazy builds forever. And, you know, like I would come up with an idea like, ooh, I want to make a pattern that looks like it's links in a chain. There's somehow different sets of colors and they're joined. And yeah, I mean, that goes back, you can see there's like pictures of that back in, I think it was 1990 or something, back when I first discovered color copiers and actually made copies, you know, like images of what I was doing. Mind you, this is like pre-cell phones taking pictures, so they're not great images, but it was the beginning of me being able to kind of document what I was making at that time. So, you know, and there was nobody teaching me. Like, there was nobody even had there was no books or anything available that I knew of. So it was just come up with ideas and make it happen. And I want to teach that. I want to show how that works. Like this, just a silly idea, sitting there at that coffee shop thinking, you know what, I really don't want my leather book wet. So here we go. So you can see I'm using the same method of how I'm, you know, dropping off the strings. I kind of talked about that before. Doing it again. I mean, this is how I like to end my works. Don't have to, you know, if you want to go another route, that's again available. But this is a nice clean finish. And oops, do one more just to go around the whole group. Kind of pulls it all in. And then do the knot. Alright, I'm going to try to hustle along here, get the rest of these done. And then I will be back and we'll work on the cutting it off. I have to figure out how I can do that so the camera can see it. So that's going to be a fun challenge I get to think about while I finish this up. All right, I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, so we've gotten to the point now where comes the moment of truth, where, kind of, this is the part that probably scares me the most. All right, let's set this down. And we're gonna hang this like that, because I went to a lot of trouble to make that a thing. There we go. Alright, now if I put the cup in here, squish it down all nice and far. Well, so that doesn't leave a whole lot of room at the bottom for the little tassels. But that said, how awesome is this, right? This is so super cool. Alright, wait, let me get some more light on this subject because that sort of blows. Let there be light. Let's see if we can set this sort of. Wow, that's so lame. Almost destroyed a lamp there. So just for you guys. Hope you feel special. All right, I think that's about as good and square as that's gonna get. I don't know. All right, I got these scissors. These are like my favorites. They're super special. I'm just gonna try to see now. Why this is scary is I cut these off too short. There's no putting string back on, so this is it. One wrong move and all your hard work is spoiled. But, all right. But these scissors are super sweet because they're just like, and bam, it's cut it right off. So, awesomeness. This is so cool. So now, it's pretty late at night, and I still have like a ton of editing for all of this to have. Ooh, one strand. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, so there's still a ton of editing, and there's still a while before I can actually even put this whole thing online. And I have to go out tomorrow, so there's that. So the plan is I'm going to go out tomorrow and I'm going to have a nice cold coffee and I'm going to try my little creation out. And I'll probably get a little bit of footage to use for that too. Of course, it probably won't sound nearly as cool. But hey, I'll have cool pictures to share with you guys. So, all right, this is cool. Look at that. I can actually fold it up and you can fit in my backpack really nicely. Look at that. That's kind of neat, right? So, is this likely to be in my shop anytime soon? Nah, I don't think so. I don't see anybody wanting one. You could just totally do this with some like cloth and a string, I suppose, pretty quick. This is like taking me days, but it's so pretty. So I'll have a cooler one than everybody else, and unless, of course, you guys follow the instructions in this video, and then you guys can have one too, I suppose. All right, talk to you guys. Have fun. Later.